Jordan was a 23-year-old with charm that could melt ice. With his slick hair, expensive knockoff watch, and sharp suit, he looked every bit the successful entrepreneur he claimed to be. But behind the polished exterior lay a heartless fraudster who thrived on exploiting others. He lived in the bustling city of Lagos, a place where fortunes were made and lost in a heartbeat. For Jordan, it was a playground for his schemes. His latest target? An elderly widow named Mrs. Grace Adams, a sweet, trusting 72-year-old woman who lived alone in a quaint bungalow. Mrs. Adams had recently lost her husband of 50 years and spent her days tending her garden and reminiscing about the past. Her only joy was her small savings, a safety net her late husband had left for her. Jordan knew this and approached her under the guise of a financial advisor. "Good afternoon, ma'am," he said one sunny morning, flashing his most disarming smile. "I represent Evergreen Investments. We help retirees grow their savings through safe, high-yield investments." Mrs. Adams hesitated. She had always been cautious with money, but Jordan's persuasive charm and convincing documents wore down her defenses. "Your late husband would be proud to see you secure your future," he added, delivering the final emotional blow. Within days, Mrs. Adams had handed over her life savings, $50,000. Jordan promised her weekly updates and quick returns, but once the money was transferred, he disappeared like a ghost. Weeks passed, and Mrs. Adams began to worry. She called the contact number Jordan had provided, only to find it disconnected. Panic set in as she realized the truth: she had been scammed. The betrayal shattered her fragile heart. 2 months later, Jordan was sitting in a luxury bar, celebrating his latest haul with champagne. His phone buzzed, and he glanced at a news notification. "Elderly widow dies after falling victim to fraud scheme." The headline caught his attention. He clicked the article and froze. The picture of Mrs. Adams stared back at him. The article detailed how she had suffered a fatal heart attack after losing her life savings. Her son had found her clutching a picture of her late husband, tears staining her cheeks. For the first time, Jordan felt a pang of guilt. But he brushed it aside, convincing himself it wasn't his fault. "She should have been smarter," he muttered, drowning his fleeting remorse in another glass of champagne. Months later, Jordan's luck ran out. One of his victims had tipped off the authorities, and he was arrested during a lavish party. The courtroom was packed during his trial, and the image of Mrs. Adams was presented as evidence of the lives he had destroyed. The judge's voice was cold as he passed the sentence. "You didn't just steal money, you stole lives. You're sentenced to 25 years in prison." As the gavel slammed, Jordan's once charming demeanor crumbled. For the first time, he understood the true cost of his deceit. Mrs. Adams' face haunted him every night in his prison cell, a constant reminder that no wealth could ever erase the weight of a guilty conscience.